It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Take your emails as well at randykabc@gmail.com. That's randykabc@gmail.com. Gavin Newsom woke up early this morning to join Attorney General Rob Bonta in a press conference celebrating California strong-arming a local city, Elk Grove, into finally agreeing to build enough housing. At that same press conference, Gavin Newsom went off on Huntington Beach a whole bunch of times for opposing any of his housing mandates. And of course, when we got to the Q&A, Gavin was asked about his latest headline grabber of the week, the fact that even though the legislative session is over in Sacramento, and Gavin Newsom has 991 bills to either sign or veto, Gavin Newsom wants to bring that legislature back for a special session to take on big oil. Where have we heard this before? Oh, that's right. It's a repeat of last year when Gavin called a special session to take down big oil. Now, he did get the special session. He talked a big game about how he was going to go after the insane profits that refiners and oil producers were making whenever they have unplanned or planned maintenance. He claims they made billions and billions and billions of dollars on the backs of you, the Californian. He was going to do something about it. So Gavin Newsom called that special session. And at the end of deliberating and talking to experts, they appointed somebody on a commission to make some recommendations at a future date. So not exactly we're going to take all those profits and give them right back to you in your pocket. That's Gavin Newsom, big on the headline, light on any details. So Gavin, when he was at this housing lawsuit press conference, was asked about the special session. And of course, he took this as an opportunity to make his stand this year against big oil, who he says is trying to screw you.
Attorney General, I have a quick question about the special session.
Oh, yeah, I have to forget. So Rob Bonta's at this presser, too. We all know Bonta. Bonta's great. Bonta is Mr. Cliche. Rob Bonta is asked, okay, Gavin Newsom wants to bring in the special session, but the state Senate says they don't want to come back. They say Gavin should have done this legislation in the summertime and paid attention to us instead of going off gallivanting at the DNC and other places. Okay, they didn't say specifically that, but they were like, you could have done this for the 9 months a year we are in session. And so they said, we're not coming. The Assembly said they are coming. And so now, if Gavin can either strong arm the state Senate to get them to say yes, or he has to send in his attack dog Bonta to bring them back, whether they like it or not. No going home to your district for you.
I feel that I represent the governor in this matter, and if the governor wishes to address this issue, he may.
Would you like to address the issue?
Yeah, I mean, we're making progress. We're moving forward. You saw the legislation was introduced yesterday. The legislature's moving. They're assigning committees. And I applaud and appreciate, and you've seen joint statements, both the Speaker as well as the Pro Tem, who I met with over an hour last night.
Oh, a whole hour of Gavin Newsom and Mike McGuire. There's some hogwash.
We're going to get this done.
Governor, what was that conversation with the Pro Tem like then?
Oh, he's not going to give you any details.
I mean, it was very constructive. We put out a joint statement. I think it speaks for itself. Progress. We're moving forward. We're going to get this done. Speaker's already put together his committees. We're moving it as expeditiously as we possibly can. We were hopeful to get it done at the end of the legislative session.
Somebody wasn't paying enough attention. Gavin was so distracted with national politics this summer, he couldn't get enough support for his competing ballot measure for Prop 36. And he decides at the very last minute, when he's not getting any attention, because while Biden wanted him as a surrogate, obviously Kamala does not. He hinders the campaign. He does not help the campaign. That now Gavin Newsom has got to do what he does best, pick a fight with big oil.
That was not the case. And as you know, that primarily was at the direction of the Speaker and the Assembly. The Assembly is now taking leadership in the first step of this special session. and we're going to make progress to address a vexing issue that impacts every single Californian, and that's the abuse of the oil companies that tends to happen around this time every year.
Yeah, around fall is when all of a sudden gas prices start going up, according to Gavin Newsom, and you're getting screwed over. And it has nothing to do with the gas tax. It has nothing to do with cap and trade. It has nothing to do with the California blends or our environmental laws. It has everything to do with those greedy oil refiners. I think both can be true at the same time. That's at least my personal opinion on the subject. I think Gavin's trying to screw us and Big Oil is trying to screw us because they know they can blame it on Gavin. They can get more favorable legislation passed, and in the meantime, they can jack up the prices on California because it makes California look bad. It makes California look like an outlier. Gavin's latest plan, if he can get it through the Assembly and the State Senate, is this. Okay, we were going to tax those windfall profits. That didn't work out. Now what we're going to do, because what the refiners tell us is that, well, we have to raise the price because we're short on supply whenever we go through unplanned or planned maintenance. You hear about a refinery fire, all of a sudden gas prices go to 20 cents overnight. Gavin says, okay, here's what we need to do. You, the refiner, needs to start producing a whole bunch of extra oil so you have a minimum supply. So you'll always have the same amount, whether you go through maintenance or not. You can weather the maintenance. I got to tell you off the bat, that's not crazy. Although, of course, expected. The oil industry says, no, that's terrible. And it's going to raise the price of gasoline in California, in Arizona, and Nevada. So now Arizona and Nevada are going to be mad at us. My question to you, as somebody who has lived under Gavin Newsom's rule for as many years as I have, at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222, if Gavin Newsom gets what he wants, do you think gas prices are actually going to go down? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. While on paper, this idea seems interesting, Gavin's got a terrible track record of actually getting gas prices to go down. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Gavin Newsom's taking on Big Oil. Do you think he's going to get your gas prices down? 800-222-KABC.
As it relates to price spiking. You experienced it 2 years ago. I think it was October 4th, 2022. $2.61 more than the national average. We saw gas prices averaging in California $6.42.
And I will say this. Again, I don't think there's any hero or villain. Everybody's bad in this story. If you add up all the fees, you add up the tax, the state tax and the federal tax, cap and trade, everything else, there's still like $1 there that nobody knows where it came from or where it's going. So there's definitely a mystery afoot as to why gas is so much more expensive than the other states.
You saw it last year on September 30th, $2.25 above the national average. Today, it's roughly $1.40.
Oh, boy. Do you ever go out of state on summer vacation? I go, as you know, to New Mexico a lot. I go to Dallas. And when you see that $2 gas, that $3 gas, I don't even pay for gas anymore because I have an electric car, but it's still like, I just want to go to Buc-ee's and fill up. Also get some brisket.
$1.43 above the national average. But we know this is the time of year that we have planned and unplanned refinery maintenance, which spikes the cost of gasoline and spikes the profits of those that are doing the maintenance. I
do find that part interesting. All of a sudden, they had to raise the price, but apparently they raised it so much that they actually make money on the maintenance, according to Gavin. He's making a case, although he has yet to effectively do anything about this problem, and gas only goes up.
5 companies have 90% market share in the refinery space.
Well, we chased a bunch of them away.
I mean, how dumb do we want to continue to be? To be played as fools, which they've been doing for decades and decades, billions and billions of dollars, hardworking folks being fleeced by the greed of these oil companies.
How dare they? They're fleecing you, according to Gavin.
By the greed of these oil companies. These price spikes go directly in their pocket. And that's why we did a special session a year ago. I applaud legislative leadership for moving forward with the kind of transparency that has allowed us to understand the refinery issue in relationship to supply-demand.
Didn't we know that before the special session and before the task force and before the Energy Commission Board?
At the end of the day, not dissimilar to the issue of housing, supply-demand. Demand remains really relatively constant. Supply drops with unplanned and planned maintenance. And then we see huge increase in profits and costs to those going to the pump. And we're trying to get our arms around that. And both legislative leaders are committed to that process.
All right, so you hear a little bit of Gavin's plan there. He says the refiners jack up the price way too high whenever they go for planned or unplanned maintenance. He would like the refiners to have a minimum set of supply so they don't have to spike the price every time they go through maintenance. He says if he can get that to work, then gas prices are going to go down. My question to you, as somebody who has lived under the rule of Gavin Newsom for over 6 years, do you think Gavin is actually going to get gas prices down? 800-222-KABC. 1-800-222-5222. Let's start with Angela in Ventura. Angela, hello.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. A longtime listener, and there is no way in hell he's going to drop the gas prices. We know that. If Gavin is against something, I am for it. So I am all pro gas and the oil industry, and no more can move out of California. It's killing us already.
I mean, Chevron announcing that they're going to be leaving most of their managerial staff, but eventually, if they leave that refinery, then there's only 4 companies in the state of California.
It's crazy, isn't it, how this guy gets away with this?
Well, he says they're the ones screwing you, not me. It's them.
Yeah, I've lived here long enough to know that whatever he's saying is a big fat lie. So he's benefiting somehow. Don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see.
Thanks so much for the call, Angela. Appreciate it. Gavin Newsom, consumer reporter. He fights for you with no results of actually lowering prices on anything. I mean, look, this whole press conference was originally about housing. We got to build more housing, make it easier to build housing. Has anything that California has done in the last 6 years lowered the prices of housing? No. So what exactly are like these 900 bills going to do to make your life easier? My question to you at 800-222-KABC is this. If Gavin gets his way and he gets his new special session, do you think he's actually going to get your gas prices to go down? 800-222-KABC, because that's what he's promising. 800-222-5222. He promised this last year, but maybe this year he'll get it done. Let's go to Mark in Fullerton. Mark, hello.
Hello, how are you doing, Randy?
Doing great.
Okay, hey, I've got a simple solution to this. The problem right now is they say they run out of gas. They can't make it fast enough. I would build more refineries.
Oh, he's not going to like that. Those are dirty.
Of course not. That makes sense. So I wouldn't expect him to like that.
No, what he's going to do is have them just get a giant container and store all that oil. So he's got an extra reserve. And he swears if they do that, they have no reason to jack up the prices.
Well, there's already big holes in the ground up in Elk Hills where they store the national strategic reserves for oil. Why didn't he just use some of that? I mean, put some in there for it.
Thanks for the call, Mark. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. You've heard Gavin Newsom's plan. I'll get further into it. We got lots more sound to get to. I just want to know. You've heard Gavin talk a big game about going after big oil. Do you think Gavin Newsom is going to get your gas prices to go down this year? 800-222-KABC. Let's go to Luis and Marietta. Luis, hello.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. The guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I was working in a refinery for 10 years. Biden and him are not letting the oil companies drill. So we got to get it overseas, and they got to ship it on a boat. They're idiots, you know, and they're screwing the people. They're the ones screwing the people.
Yeah. Well, You could definitely make that argument. That is what California does best. Lewis, thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. Let's go to Michael in Santa Clarita. Michael, hello.
Yeah, hi. I agree with the last two callers. First of all, we're overregulated, and every time they bring on a new regulation, that gives an extra cost to the refiners. And what do? They pass the cost on to us. Gavin Newsom's not going to let us build new refineries because the regulations are too tight. And when they have to repair the broken down refineries that we already have, I'm sorry, guys, but they're basically trying to fix broken old machinery.
I think you make a good point. You make a strong point. If, these things are going to have more and more and more maintenance because they're old and outdated, and we're not going to be building any new ones because Gavin thinks in 10 years we won't need them.
Yeah, and then on top of that, your last caller is saying that we got to get our oil from other places. California's got a lot of oil, but they don't want to use it. So it's like, what do you expect? Your costs are going to go up because you have to import it.
There you go, Michael. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. We'll keep going with your phone calls. Do you think Gavin Newsom is going to get your oil prices down this year? Is Gavin Newsom going to lower your gas prices? So far, I got no yeses. Maybe we'll get one. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. We're taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Gavin Newsom is picking a fight with Big Oil yet again. He wants to call a special session of the legislature to pass his new idea. Make the refiners store a whole bunch of extra oil so that way when they have maintenance, they can't jack up the price. My question to you at 800-222-KABC is this. Do you think Gavin Newsom is going to get your gas prices down? 800-222-KABC. Let's go to Edmund in Camarillo. Edmund, hello.
Hello. Anytime you get away from a free market economy, prices are going to go up, whether they're seen or unseen. So you take a look at the federal government. You could try to duplicate that. The government purchases cheap oil, maintains it in some sort of a reserve, right? And then releases that into the supply, supposedly to help to keep the prices down. It's a drop in the bucket, and there's maintenance costs to keep that money in reserve. So it's anytime you stick your hand into that bowl, it's raising the cost.
So you're telling me Gavin hasn't totally thought this through?
He needs to take his hand out of the bowl.
There you go, Edmund. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. Let's go to David in Whittier. David, hello.
Okay. This is nothing but a fraudster's scheme, another one of his schemes. Let's juxtapose it to the housing shortage. He hasn't spoken up against and has enabled Kamala Harris's 10 million illegal aliens into the country, which is going to make the housing crisis even further. They're causing it. He's causing the shortage by overregulating oil. Okay, let's say you do ask the oil company to put in supply. Well, we'll try it. Go ahead, bud. Go ahead, Mr. Communist Propaganda Class 101. He must have gone to that class specializing in deception. And take a look at the facts. He's a fraudster. He's a scammer. And I would like to point out one key thing that everybody needs to bring up to their assembly person. Spread it all over. Go and get your gas. When you get your gas the next time, take a look at your receipt. Save your receipt. Do they put the gas tax on there? They don't. Call for a bill, and Newsom to sign it to make gas stations print on the receipt the gas tax. Well, they could do it. That's a really, really curious thing, isn't it? They don't want us to know. They don't want you to know how much of your gas bill is in gas taxes. This guy's a fraudster. He went to Communist Propaganda 101 class.
There you go, David. Thanks for the rant. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. Yeah, I don't think they put it on the receipt. There is that sign that's like on the pump that'll tell you what the Fed tax is, what the state tax is, but the state tax goes up every single year. How much money do we have to spend to print out new placards for every single pump in the state because it went from 53 cents to 54 cents? Oh, and we'll get into the gas tax if we have time. He gets asked about lowering that, and he is not for that at all. My question to you at 800-222-KABC is this. Gavin Newsom wants to pick another fight with big oil, calling a special session, forcing refiners to keep extra supply so when they go down for maintenance, they won't spike the price. Do you think Gavin Newsom is going to get your gas prices down this time? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. We take your emails as well. Read and respond to every single one at randykabc@gmail.com. That's randykabc@gmail.com. Gavin Newsom is picking yet another fight with big oil.
Because we chose to screw you.
Gavin Newsom wants to call yet another special session of the legislature just like last year. This time, he's going to find a new way to hold big oil accountable. Accountability. He says, well, if the refiners keep jacking up the prices every time that they go for unplanned or planned maintenance, then they should keep a whole bunch of extra supply so they don't have to raise the price. My question to you, somebody who has seen Gavin Newsom's track record, is this. Do you think Gavin is going to get your gas prices down? 800-222-KABC. Let's start with Ben in Beverly Hills. Ben, hello.
Hello. I am one of the previous callers who said if he's for it, I'm against it. Well, I think the idea is very good, but the state of California doesn't really like to give us transparency or accountability. Look at the bullet train. Look at the way they've mishandled our fire suppression. You can't even get homeowner insurance anymore. Look at how they've actually supported the approach that has jacked up gas prices, and they won't admit it. They want to blame it on somebody else. Global warming jacked up our prices. No, it was mismanagement and incompetent government. A government with a bunch of ambitious losers who only want to be president, who leave California in the dust every time they get an opportunity to abandon us. So I'm saying no, because I don't have any confidence in the integrity of Gavin Newsom. If he does this and it works, how do we know it works? They put the numbers on everything. If the numbers are not favorable, they erase it. So I'm telling you, from the COVID relief to the rent relief, everything has failed. They've mismanaged and wasted so many billions of dollars. At this point, I'm going to veto, as a voter, everything out of Sacramento unless there's accountability and transparency built in. And when I say accountability, I mean criminal action against the people.
I'd love to see that, but we're far off from that. What's so funny is there was actually a bipartisan bill. It passed unanimously for accountability and all the money the state has spent on homelessness. All it would do was do an audit. Where did that money go and was it effective? And Gavin vetoed it.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do to Gavin. Anytime I see his name on a ballot, now that he's termed out, I don't care if he's running for dog catcher, Mr. Gavin. I'm voting against you. I would vote for a dog before I vote for Gavin.
There you go, Ben. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. And Ben makes a really good point. Gavin is treating this like an emergency. He's got to get this done right now, even though he couldn't do it over the summer. But why are we not seeing that kind of urgency with the homeowners insurance crisis that is getting worse every single day? Nobody wants to even talk about it in Sacramento. Let's go to Rose in Marina. Rose, hello.
Hello, Randy. I'm wondering, can you do a wall drop or whatever that cool thing is you do on your show with John about the caller who said Gavin needs to get his hand out of the bowl? Because that exactly sums him up. He's gaslighting us with this ridiculous thing with the oil refineries. The oil refineries are so old, they have to shut down for maintenance. And here's the thing. My family and friends from out of state, when I say how much I'm paying for gas, they don't say to me, oh, the oil companies are gouging you. They say, what's wrong with your governor? And what's wrong with your state? So if they're gouging us, why are we the only ones that are getting gouged? Gas back
That is a very fair point, Rose.
It's $3.19 a gallon back in the Carolinas. The same in Massachusetts. He's just full of it. Get it. He needs to get his hand out of the bowl. Thank you, Randy. Love your show.
Thanks so much for the call, Rose. Appreciate it. Well, Gavin, everyone says it's you.
Because we chose to screw you.
I mean, some people even like your idea, but they don't trust you to even get it done. What are we going to do? Let's go to Linda in Torrance. Linda, hello.
Hello, Randy. And just like Gavin does with everything, he creates a deficit or lie. His $54 billion with a B budget deficit, his $24 billion that he spent on homelessness and hasn't solved a damn thing, and he's the one who caused the homeowner insurance and car insurance by screwing over the fire authorities and releasing Edison from their obligation, not Edison, PGE, from what they did. He's the one that's caused all this, and he can put whatever moratorium or legislation he wants on the manufacturers of the oil, but the Shell station down the street that likes to charge 50 cents more than the one across the street, that's up to the individual owners. He's not going to control the prices at the pump because the individual franchisees are going to drive up the cost to what they need to do.
That is a great point, Linda. By the way, anytime I see a gas station that's like arbitrarily 50 cents higher than everywhere around it, including across the street, I'm convinced that's the front for some illegal money laundering operation.
Well, now you have to give them credit. They're trying to make up for having their AM/PM robbed, in the 7-Eleven and whatever convenience store robbed from their, people walking out. Now they're just trying to make up the money at the pump probably, but it's still not right.
I think you make a great point. Thanks so much for the call, Linda. Appreciate it. Another thing that Linda said, this audience is so smart and so connected. I love y'all. You can really tie the homeowners insurance crisis to the fact that Gavin Newsom's first thing that he did when he became governor was bailed out PG&E for the campfire. So PG&E is free to do whatever they want, and the insurance companies know they're going to be on the hook for it. Great connection. Smart audience. Let's go to Greg in Fullerton. Greg, hello.
Hi. No one's talking about the real tax on our gas because what they're talking about is at the pump. But Newsom came in and he put taxes on the oil refineries that you don't even know is in our cost of gas per gallon. And it's $1.38 between the federal and the state in terms of what you see. But actually, it's much higher than that because of all the taxes he's forced on the oil companies and the refineries.
And on top of that, he wants to sue them for causing climate change. And he says that money's going to go into your pocket, too.
Yeah, well, that's another lie.
There you go, Greg. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. We'll take more of your calls, and we'll hear more what Gavin has to say as he's taken on big oil yet again. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. If you'd like to email me, you can do so at randykabc@gmail.com. That's randykabc@gmail.com. Roger writes in and says, Gavin's just going to drive even more oil companies out of the state, and since pipelines in and out of California have been shut down, there will be shortages of oil and refined product. And Fred writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com and says, did I just say Johnny Don't Like Show? At randykabc@gmail.com. Too many shows, too many email addresses. Fred writes in and says, how dare the oil companies fleece the taxpayers? That's Gavin's territory.
Because we chose to screw you.
It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang. We'll hear more what Gavin has to say about big oil next on the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. If you'd like to email us, you could do so at randykabc@gmail.com. I got it right. Peter writes in and says, hey, Randy, what about the 50 cents per gallon starting January 1st for the next 3 years? Nobody's been talking about that. Why? 2027 gas will be up $1.50 per gallon. Everyone's awfully quiet about the CARB tax. CARB standing for California Air Resources Board. Peter, you're more plugged in than I am. I don't even know about that one. But that's what's great about this audience. Y'all are real smart. All right, Gavin Newsom gets asked at this press conference, well, do you think maybe the state Senate doesn't want to come for your special session because you've got a lot of people in swing districts in an election year that don't want to do a controversial vote like this? And Gavin got mad.
For the Democratic Party broadly.
Well, I guess we should just roll over and allow oil companies to take advantage of taxpayers.
Oh, my. That's what they're doing to us?
I mean, I would imagine that should worry us a little bit more. To be played as fools, to see price spikes and have no solution, no answer, to allow these guys to run roughshod over us, to lie and deceive us for decades, as we know they've done as well as the issues of climate change, to experience record-breaking heat and drought and all the related impacts, to cost the taxpayers billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars.
All that can be true. And Californians still dislike Gavin Newsom so much they don't trust him.
Impact our general fund, impact our ability to solve the issues of ignorance, poverty, and disease.
Wait, did he just blame the fires on big oil?
All the related impacts cost the taxpayers billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars. That impact our general fund, impact our ability to solve the issues of ignorance, poverty, and disease. To not have a thing to say except, well, these oil companies, they're trusted folks, and they've been struggling a little bit because world oil prices at the wholesale level a little bit down, and they just, they have these moments where they just deserved their windfall.
He's so mad.
I mean, 90 days, $63 billion in net profits a couple years ago. In 90 days. They've been gouging you. They've been lying to you. And so, no, I don't think it should have any impact. The status quo is the biggest determinative, I think, in terms of the political question being answered. And I think we have a political imperative as representatives of the people to meet this moment and call them out and hold them accountable for this kind of manipulation.
You talk a big game, Gavin. That's exactly what you said last year, and nothing really came of your special session. But don't worry, this year he's going to do it because they're gouging you. They're screwing you. Now, Gavin does get asked, well, if you're so concerned about gas prices, how about lifting that 54 cents a gallon called the California state gas tax that goes up in perpetuity every year? Good old SB1. You see all those signs on the 101 freeway for the construction project that never gets finished in Santa Barbara. But it says this project brought to you by SB1.
And Governor, regarding the affordability crisis in California, economists tell us that high fuel prices and energy are driving inflation in construction and the cost of goods everywhere. Is there any thought being given? California has some of the highest gas taxes in the nation. Any thought to reducing that, easing regulations, or potentially removing fuels from the cap and trade system?
Well, no, not on the gas tax. Let me tell you why. First of all, the impacts of that, the districts of those that are promoting a gas tax repeal, I hope are considered.
You're not going to get any funding for your Highway 99, Kern County.
Meaning the investments that are going to roads and bridges, culverts, investments in infrastructure that would be lost. So you can't have that conversation.
My question, how about the 101 project in Santa Barbara? Because that started before SB1. Where did the money come from then?
So you can't have that conversation without having that secondary conversation. Where did the gas tax dollars go? Number two, there's nothing about repealing the gas tax that guarantees lower gas prices. Goes into the pocket of those same gas and oil interests. Nothing. There's no mandate, no requirement that the cost at the pump.
We should do that as an experiment. Just suspend it for 1 month, see if the oil companies do what you say they're going to do, and then you have absolute proof that they are screwing us because they wouldn't lower the price 50 cents when you lowered their cost by 50 cents. Let's just see it. Let's go.
Decline commensurate with the reduction of the gas tax. So I reject on both counts, and I hope they will consider the impacts of those significant jobs and investments in the infrastructure of the state. And I don't know many folks, and it doesn't matter where I travel, the most red in rural parts of the state or most progressive in urban parts of the state where people are clamoring for more investment into getting the roads fixed and the potholes filled And those tax dollars directly benefit those projects.
So no lowering the gas tax, but don't you worry, Gavin's going to get these people to stop gouging us. Lauren writes in at randykabc@gmail.com. Randy, I flew to Dallas on Saturday and picked up a motorcycle. I went north and rode back to Cali on the 40. How fun is that? I loved the cheap gas in Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. You can see a huge jump as soon as you cross into California. Hated getting gas here, but enjoyed it while I could. Yeah. You know, that's why they call needles, because as soon as you cross over into needles, you feel like a spike just hit you in the butt. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang. See you tomorrow at 5 for another one of these right here on Talk Radio 790 KABC.